So I actually have two different jobs. My 9 to 5, or my day job, is actually at night. I work third shift, and I do mechanical engineering. My actual day job, which is my second job, I work at an ice skating rink. And at the ice rink, not only do I just work behind the front desk, like taking orders, signing people up for classes, handing out skates, that kind of thing, I also teach figure skating lessons. I very recently got all my certifications out of the way, so I'm a private coach also, so I'm technically a professional figure skater, even though that's like my second job, like my side hustle. And even though I'm now a professional figure skater, I still don't know everything. So after a long day of figure skating and hockey, I was doing a little bit of research. You can call it continuing education if you want. And as I was doing some research on the way we fit figure skates and hockey skates, one of the very first things that popped up on Google was a fanfiction? Archive of Our Own, or AO3 as most people call it, is a fanfiction website. But this fanfiction just popped up in Google. So I thought it would be fun if we read some of it and saw how accurate the figure skating / hockey skating was. We probably won't read all of it, we'll probably just read the first chapter. Although I might read it on live on TikTok, that sounds kind of fun. As a small disclaimer, I know way more about the figure skating side than the hockey side of things. I do play hockey, not well what I play, but I'm definitely more on the figure skating side of things. Yeah, all these medals back here are my figure skating medals. I don't have any hockey medals. So basically all we're doing today is seeing how accurate the skating stuff is in this fic. Something else about this fic. It's a Dream SMP fanfiction. I literally don't know anything about the Dream SMP stuff. All I know is I follow some cosplayers on TikTok who do some really cool Dream SMP cosplays. I don't know what's going on, but they're really cool cosplays, so I support them. Anyway, this is a fluff fic, so I'm not too worried about it. It's called Figure Skates and Hockey Blades. So we have Dream as the hockey player and George as a figure skater. I don't know who these people are. So we're gonna read through any scenes that have skating together, and we'll talk about how accurate they are. And I do want to say right off the bat, don't send any hate to the creator of this fic, even if it isn't accurate. Who cares? It's a fan fiction. It doesn't make that much of a difference. I thought this would just be fun for me to gush about figure skating and also talk about fan fiction figure skating, because I don't think I've ever seen it before. In the author's notes for the first chapter, it says that they're okay hearing if there are any inaccuracies, and I'm not going to be an asshole about it. Figure skating's weird. There are a lot of little rules that not everyone knows. And it is also mentioned that some of it is glamorized on purpose, so, it's fine. But yeah, don't send any hate to them. It's not that big a deal. I just think this would be fun. So first things first, the whole premise of this story is George, whoever that is a figure skater, moves up to Canada to pursue figure skating, and then Dream, who I think is also named Clay, I'm a little bit confused on that, is a hockey player. There's a lot of joking about how hockey players and figure skaters don't get along. There's a lot of reasons for that. A brief overview is basically both people think their sport's harder. A lot of it has to do with homophobia. It's a stereotype that all men who figure skate are gay. So they usually face a lot of ridicule from hockey players and homophobia. And stereotypically, a lot of women who play hockey are also gay, which then hockey players also show them a lot of homophobia. Don't get me wrong, the figure skating side is not free of homophobia. The figure skating side is pretty bad about transphobia. So both sides have their issues. I just think the hockey side is a little bit more brutal about it just because of the nature of the sport. And I think a lot of hockey players don't take figure skating seriously. I've talked about this a lot before, not only because I do both, but because I think the infighting is stupid. But even though a lot of people joke about figure skaters and hockey players really hating each other, that's calmed down a lot as far as I can tell. But it is still a weird dichotomy whenever they're all in the same place together. Okay, here's something interesting. So we have a little bit of a timeline of George's skating history. 5 is the first time he was ever on the ice. That's fairly accurate for figure skaters, at least. They start very young, usually around 3 years old. So 3 to 5 is a normal age for figure skaters to start if they're very, very high level skaters. Obviously, not all the time. I started skating at 19 and I'm now a bronze skater. The next step in the timeline we have at 7. It says he's already taking weekly lessons. It doesn't mention if it's private lessons or group lessons. That can make a big difference. 2 years of skating is still a good amount of time. And then the next age, it says age 13, he was doing routines, glidings, leaps, and twirls. I'm paraphrasing. But I think, honestly, if you started at 5, he would probably be able to be doing routines at 7. Your routines can be super basic routines, super simple routines at like the lowest levels. Some routines are literally just footwork, no jumps, no spins, no nothing. Pretty much no matter what level you're at, you could enter a competition. You just gotta pay a bunch of money. So at age 13, for him to be doing all that makes perfect sense. But I also think even younger, he would have been able to be doing jumps and twirls and spins and all that kind of stuff. Obviously, there's no set timeline, but if you start off at 5 and you take weekly lessons since then, or even since he was 7, there's a good chance not only would he be really good, but he would have been really good really early. Okay, so it says the reason he moved to Canada, which I was a little bit confused about because I do figure skating in Texas. He was offered a scholarship for figure skating. Oh, that's real funny. So the roommate plays hockey, and they're from Texas. It's weird that it's kind of mentioned that they have to move up north to play hockey. The hockey scene in Texas is fairly competitive. The only real reason you would need to move up north is for, first of all, better coaching, but we have pretty good coaches here, but also just to skate outside. Although if you're doing things like hockey and figure skating, and actually doing it like specialized, like actually doing hockey practices, practicing drills and stuff, and actually practicing your figure skating, you wouldn't want to go on an outside pond. You would want to stay inside where the ice is controlled. I'm wondering if this is like a specialized ice skating school, because he's a figure skater and then his roommate is a hockey player? That's kind of random, especially since it sounds like they've both been doing it since they were kids, unless the roommate hasn't played hockey before. Oh, this is an interesting note. George, our main character, is obviously a man, and he has white skates. Generally, white skates are women's skates, black skates are men's skates. Obviously, skates don't have genders assigned to them, so like even before I came out as trans, I still preferred the black skates. I just think they look cooler. The white skates also get dirty so much faster. There used to be a rule in figure skating that women wore white, men wore black, and if you didn't follow that rule, you got points docked. And that kind of thing shows you just how deeply homophobia, transphobia, that kind of stuff is rooted in figure skating, even subconsciously. It's like men wear black, women wear white. You can't change that. It's just super binary, super gendered. Things are changing, they're just changing slowly. I don't think I've worn my black skates yet in a competition, but I also don't think I would be docked for that. Not only because my level isn't high enough for that to matter at this point. The level I'm skating at isn't like super competitive, so it's not that big a deal. But when you get to the levels where it is very competitive, and where every little point matters, things like that you will get docked for and it'll ruin your whole performance. Same thing with outfit choice. For a long time, women were not allowed to wear pants on the ice. That's different now, but they still have rules about how much skin you can show. It's a little bit misogynistic, it's a little bit old-fashioned. Anyways, George wears white skates, which I think is cool. Defeat that gender binary, George. Okay, so after a long day of school, George decides to go figure skating at 10 o'clock at night. It expressly says the rink is open. I obviously can't tell you if a rink would be open that late, but my thing is, if it was, it probably would be a public skate session, and he wouldn't be able to do any of his figure skating stuff. You just skating around a circle. Every public session I've been to doesn't allow jumps and spins because they're afraid other people will get hurt that aren't figure skaters. Same thing with hockey players though. They don't let the hockey players race around and do hockey stops because they're afraid they'll hurt people. I worked at a rink once, and that was a big problem. The hockey players would like skate as fast as they could run circles, and then when they see somebody fall, they would do a hockey stop and spray snow at them. Not only is this like an asshole move, but also the hockey players couldn't always stop in time and they would just run people over. So it's very dangerous. So if it's a public session, George isn't going to be able to do anything fun. Also, figure skaters more often than at night try to figure skate during the morning because there's less people there. Figure skating is often like a 6 a.m. kind of sport. It's been a week since he's skated last, and he says that's far too long for his liking. I would tend to agree. A week off from figure skating is not gonna mess you up. In fact, it's often good to occasionally take like a week or 2 long breaks, just like every few months. You have to remember this is a sport and it is physically taxing on your body. If you're never taking a break, you're gonna run yourself into the ground, basically. That being said, the longer you take a break, the more your body starts to forget. So a week isn't bad, but any more than that, make sure you're doing your off-ice stuff. Again, if you have to take a month or something off from skating, you're not gonna forget everything you've learned. But if you're trying to do this professionally and trying to go to the Olympics and stuff, then taking breaks is, not for the best. It said back in England he was on the ice nearly every day of the week. Okay, personal opinion time. If you're already a high-level skater, I say that's okay. If you're just starting out, I don't like the idea of young kids who are starting out being on the ice every day of the week. It's physically taxing on your body and it leads to early burnout, and I just don't like it. Obviously, if you're pushing for the Olympics or high-level skating, then you would want to be on the ice every day of the week. But my only problem with that is then you're done skating by the age of 13. It's over, you're done. And I really don't like that mentality. That's the mentality that gets you into the Olympics, and that's the mentality that wins you gold in the Olympics. I just don't like it. I don't like the idea of wrecking your body before you're even an adult. So in my personal opinion, unless the skater shows very obvious signs of those lofty goals, I would say 3 times a week max. You can still do off-ice training, but another thing I worry about is if you're on the rink every single day, it's no longer fun. And for me, you shouldn't do figure skating if it's not fun. But again, that's my personal opinion. A lot of people disagree with me. Rink size is smaller and it's covered with markings because it's shared with the hockey team. I've never been to an ice skating rink that's not shared with a hockey team. I know there are some, but I've never been to one. Also, all rinks should be about the same size. The only reason he would be at a rink that was bigger if it was a super fancy international kind of one. If you just go to an ice skating rink, it's gonna be a hockey rink. First of all, it's not gonna be just an ice skating rink, it'll be a hockey rink. But you can still do figure skating on it. They usually have separate times for figure skating, and they're all gonna be the same size because it's regulation. Then again, George is from England, and I don't know anything about England, I just know about America. Okay, so he goes around the rink twice and then just goes into a toe loop, which that's not enough of a warm-up to just go into jumps. Normally what you want to do is you want to go around the rink a few times and then you want to warm up your edges. Edges are when you go on one foot and you go back and forth in different directions and backwards. You want to do that. You want to do slaloms, which are you keep your feet on the ice and you use one foot to pull you back and forth. You want to do those forwards and backwards, and when you do slaloms, you do a slalom jump. That kind of stuff is what's going to get you warmed up for doing a jump. A toe loop is an interesting one to start off with too, because you go backwards. So you would have to do a 3-turn go backwards, or you would have to turn backwards to do your backwards crossovers to get into your toe loop. Also, again, so far it sounds like he's the only person on the rink, which is weird for a public session. Especially at 10 o'clock at night, people would definitely be on that rink and he would not be allowed to do jumps. If it's not a public session and it's a freestyle session or a figure skating specific session, he might be the only person on the rink at 10 o'clock at night because who skates at that time? It doesn't make a lot of sense for the rink to be open that late because they wouldn't make any money that way. So the reason he keeps saying the rink probably isn't open that late, especially for a freestyle or figure skating specific session, is because they're not going to make any money that way. Most of the figure skaters are not skating at 10 o'clock at night, they're all skating early in the morning, and there just aren't enough figure skaters who are going to skate on an open session that late at night. For public sessions, maybe, but again, he would not be able to do those jumps on a public session. Also, it just says toe loop jump, it doesn't say how many rotations he does. If it's just one rotation, that's fine. It would make sense because it's literally the first thing he does when he gets on the ice. There's no way. He would probably have to warm up to do more rotations. He practices a routine or does a routine from memory. I've done that before, that's pretty normal. But again, there just wasn't enough warm up, honestly. Right now, my biggest gripe is just that he didn't do a warm up. He should have done 5 to 10 minutes of just warming up. Okay, then he goes into an axle jump. It's labeled as the treacherous axle jump. Axles are easy if you know how to do them properly, and if you're not trying to do quads. A single axle is not that difficult. Oh, 3 rotations. Okay, that's a lot of rotations for no warm-up, and how old is he? 17? Triple axles are real hard. Yeah, the way this axle is described is really interesting. Shifts, lifts right leg, and then launches into the axle. I mean, technically, that's just a weird way to describe it, I guess. 3 rotations, that's a lot of rotations for someone. I don't know what level George is supposed to be at, but that's still a lot of levels. To do an axle, you have to have all your single jumps completed before you can even start to do axle. So every single jump would have to be good before he does axle. Even then, he would probably start doing the other jumps first, because even in my opinion, axle jumps are easy to do. Like, single axle jumps are pretty easy, but that's just because I'm a super high jumper. I get a lot of lift from the ground, and you need a lot of lift to be in the air long enough to spin that many times. A lot of skaters tend to jump like very close to the ice, and that's better for things like loop jumps and toe jumps. Loop jumps especially, because I don't think a lot of people do more than singles, but you can do a lot of loop jumps just like in a row. Okay, so he does the jump, he gets distracted, and then his toe pick catches the ice and he falls. It doesn't say how he falls. Toe pick falls are super dangerous. I've sprained my wrist countless times, I've got a real bad concussion. It's weird that he would fall as soon as he got distracted. Even if you're in the middle of a jump, you would just pop your jump instead of, I think, just falling down. Especially as an axle jump is a blade jump, it's not a toe jump. So that means you take off from the blade, you don't ever really hit the toe pick. So there's really no reason he should have had the toe pick on the ice at all. Even if you are distracted by something, you basically just fuck up your jump, you pop it, and then you just turn to see what's going on. I don't know, it seems weird that he would have fallen down. But you never know. Some people fall for the stupidest reasons. Like, I'll sometimes get down on a kid's level so I can talk to them and explain something while trying to show them something, and then fall down because I'm trying to bend my body in the wrong direction. So I mean, you can fall down for stupid reasons. It just seems weird that if he was already in the middle of a jump, that he would then fall down. Okay, Hockey Man. Hockey Man's wearing a jersey, wearing a helmet, heavy looking black skates. So here's the thing, hockey skates are way lighter than figure skates. Figure skates are so heavy. Let me grab my figure skates. My hockey skates are in the car, so I can't show you comparison, but I still think this will be a good visual. These are my figure skates. Hockey skates stop right here. So figure skates go up further on your leg, and they hold it tight. You see a lot of hockey players have their tongue out like this. That's an absolute no in figure skates because you'll fall down. Your ankles don't have enough support. Not only that, see all this padding? Hockey skates don't usually have that. They might have a little bit, but it's definitely squished down more. Also, the blade on figure skates are a lot longer. A lot of hockey skates stop like right here and right here. They also have more of a curve to them, and they don't have this heel. So figure skates put you up on a heel a little bit. There's a lot of stuff inside the sole to help you when you press down into the ice, because you're putting a lot of pressure on your foot when you push into the ice to jump. So this part is like packed full of stuff. And then this part of the boot is also very heavy, and then you have this like just block of plastic, and also the blade is bigger. Figure skates are actually a lot heavier than hockey skates. Another thing is a lot of figure skates are made out of leather or some type of fabric, whereas most hockey skates are just plastic. And it literally just comes down to what they're designed for. Hockey skates are meant to make you go fast. That's what they're for. So if you have like basically ankle weights on, you're not gonna skate as fast. Figure skates are for durability and to make sure you're safe while you're jumping. They need to be able to withstand a bunch of pressure, and also to keep your ankle from moving so that you don't break your ankle when you land on your toes. Figure skates quite literally hug your foot. You should barely be able to wiggle your toes in figure skates. Hockey skates are very loose. It was very weird putting on hockey skates for the first time when I had been figure skating for so many years, because they didn't fit right in my head because I had been wearing figure skates for so long. They didn't fit right. But they did fit right, they were just hockey skates and they're different. Okay, so the hockey man, of course, first things he does a hockey stop at George down on the ice, because actually that's what hockey players do. That's pretty accurate. It's fucking annoying. Stop doing that. Stop it. It's one of my biggest pet peeves. Why would you do that? You're just being an asshole. Anyways, so it has to be a public session if a hockey player and a figure skater are on the ice at the same time. Hockey player guy is wearing his helmet and his jersey. If you're just on a public skate for hockey, you're not going to be wearing that. You're just going to be wearing your regular clothes. Just like a figure skater wouldn't be wearing their like full routine outfit. They'll just be wearing regular clothes. The only reason you wear a jersey and all the padding and the helmet and stuff is for practice. The only reason you wear that kind of stuff in the first place is if somebody wails a hockey puck at you. Of course, helmets are good for beginner skaters who are more likely to fall down and hit their head. But all the padding and like the grate on the helmet and that kind of stuff are mostly for when other hockey players are whipping the puck at you. Big rule in hockey, never stand behind the net, never skate behind the net, don't go behind the net, because a lot of people miss. And when they're doing those slap shots, you could lose all your teeth. Why would you tint your face shield black? You wouldn't be able to see. That's a bad idea. It's not a motorcycle helmet. It's not to block out the sun. If you have a tinted helmet, you won't be able to see, and then you won't be able to play. That's silly. Figure skaters showing off for hockey players is a big thing. Again, because figure skaters have that like beef with hockey players, where hockey players don't think it's a real sport. So if they have a chance to show off their jumps, they will. So that's pretty accurate. We have mention of edges, so I'm excited for that. Back outside edge of the right foot, okay? Launches into a toe loop. Okay, that is how you do a toe loop. Skates forward. Yeah, so there's just no mention of him, how he got backwards, which is fine, it's not that big a deal. Most people would either do a 3-turn or a C-step, or in hockey we just call it transitions. It's literally just turning forward to backwards. 3-turn, you do it on 1 foot, you can do it on 2 foot, then it's called a 2-foot turn. Back outside edge of the right foot would launch you into a toe jump. There's no mention of his toe going in the ice, but since it's literally called a toe loop, so that's pretty self-explanatory. Landing on the opposite foot. I'm trying to remember. I'm at the point now where I don't really think it through, I just kind of do the jump, so I gotta remember. I don't think you land on the opposite foot. He starts on the okay. So it's a little bit confusing how he got backwards. The edge is right, it would be the back outside edge. Launches himself into toe, twirling around and landing on the opposite foot. You would actually land on the same foot. I think it's just I'm a little bit confused on what they mean by the opposite foot. Does that mean landing on the foot that was in the ice? Because that's not true. You would land on the foot where your toe wasn't in the ice. If that's what they mean, then yes, that's correct. If they mean you put your toe in the ice and then you pull your other foot back and you jump forward that way, if what they mean is then you land on your foot that was originally your toe on the ice, that's incorrect. But it's just a little bit confusing, which is fine. Figure skating terminology is weird. So they meant it in the way that is correct. It's just the wording was a little bit confusing because there's a comment here from before when it sounds like it was written the wrong way and it sounds like they were corrected, so the author corrected it. It's just the wording didn't really make sense in my brain, but that just might be a me thing. So that at least brings a little clarity to that part. So that's actually a pretty good description, except for that opposite foot thing. And also you would need your entrance edge. Your entrance is just how you get to the point where you can jump. You don't put nicknames on jerseys. It says, his jersey says Dream, and he says it's a nickname. You wouldn't put your nickname on your jersey because the names on the jerseys are a lot of times used for how you score points. That's why it's your last name, so it's not confused with anyone else. This is a fanfic, it's not that big a deal. But in hockey, you would just put your last name. You wouldn't do nicknames. Especially since they charge you for how many letters you put on a jersey. So for jerseys to have your name on them, they get expensive because they charge you for every single letter you put on. We had a kid come into the rink that had 15 letters in his last name. So not only would his name not fit on the jersey, it was like hella expensive. So they did end up shortening it for that reason. But more often than not, they're not going to let you put a nickname on your jersey. The name on your jersey is to identify you, to give you the points that you deserve. So if you make a goal, they're going to note that down so that in your overall score, no matter where you play, people can see how good you are, basically. So they're not going to put a nickname down. Okay, I'm guessing you're part of the figure skating club. I wonder what they mean by that, because figure skating club is the thing you have to pay for. You have to have a membership for in order to compete and in order to like take classes and stuff. So I wonder if that's what they mean, or if they just mean like in general, like, oh, you're a figure skater. Again, he's wearing his gloves. You wouldn't wear your gloves on a public session. If you are not running drills and practicing, you're not going to be geared up because that shit's hot and it's heavy and it makes it harder to move. If you're a beginner skater, maybe to get used to it, I think the point here is that they've been skating for a long time, so you just wouldn't. There's no point to it. Most of the coaches don't even wear all the padding and stuff. They wear helmets and they wear the gloves just to like protect themselves while the other people are whipping stuff around. But if you're just on a public session, why bother? Nobody's hitting pucks at you, you're fine. Sweaty hands, don't shake anybody's hand if it's been in a hockey glove. It probably stinks too. Yeah, okay, so hockey guy says he wants to do practice drills. First of all, not on a public session, they're not gonna put nets or pucks on the ice. Second of all, if this is not a public session, figure skating man should not be on the ice. Figure skaters and hockey players don't practice at the same time for a reason. Imagine you're trying to do a spin and somebody hits a hockey puck right at you. That's super dangerous. However, if he is practicing drills, then that makes sense why he's wearing all his gear. I still don't understand the shading of the mask. Probably just for the, what this is tagged as like identity reveal. So that's probably what that's for, but honestly, it would be so hard to see. You wouldn't be able to play. Oh, he does have a hockey stick, that wasn't mentioned before. So again, like I said, if you're a figure skater, you're not sharing the ice with hockey players. It just doesn't make any sense to do so. You'll be in each other's way, and it's very dangerous. Figure skaters staying in one place to do jumps and spins will be very in the way for hockey players. Hockey players slapping the puck around the ice is going to be very dangerous for the figure skaters, so they should absolutely not be sharing the rink. The only reason they would be sharing the rink is if it was a public skate and neither of them were doing the fancy shit. If they're both just skating, not doing figure skating and not doing hockey skating, just skating, then they could share the ice. Since they're both trying to do their specialized sport, it's going to be very dangerous for the other one and a big inconvenience. Okay, they split the rink in half. That makes a little bit more sense. It's still very dangerous because those pucks go flying. Even if you're shooting that way, they can hit the glass and bounce back. It's very dangerous. I wouldn't. Absolutely not. Practicing Salchow. Salchows aren't bad. I don't like them, but most people do. Puts a few sticks on the ground. Why not cones? Honestly, it feels like they're not even supposed to be at this rink. If you're practicing drills, they would give you cones. Because sticks, they're so long. I mean, you could, but it makes more sense to do cones. Funny. They have the hockey player being like super chill, and the figure skater says he curses himself when he doesn't land it right. Fair. I do that, but I curse way more in hockey just because it's a mental challenge for me. Like, it's one of those things I'm like, I know I can do it, and then when I don't, I get really like frustrated with myself. So like if I'm stick handling and then I lose the puck, I'm just like, fuck. I try to be quiet though, because I'm technically in a lesson and you're not supposed to do that. And figure skating, even if I mess up a jump, I'm less frustrated with myself and often more nervous about hurting myself, because in hockey you got all the padding. If you fall down, you're fine. In figure skating, when you mess up a jump, there's a good chance you'll fall and seriously hurt yourself. So yeah, I get frustrated if it's something I know how to do and I'm having trouble doing it, but especially with jumps, if I mess up a jump, I'm more worried about making sure that I land in a way that's not gonna kill me. That's, again, personal opinion though. They're only on the ice for an hour. That's not a long time to practice. Because it said that he got there at 10, it's a little past 11. Good job. Always wipe down your blades afterwards, you don't want them to rust. Wipe them down, put on your covers. But overall, this first chapter so far has been pretty accurate. If you're not a figure skater, a bunch of these little nitpicky stuff you're not gonna know about, obviously. Honestly, just like the inner workings of what goes on behind the scenes at an ice skating rink isn't there, because this person, I doubt, has worked at an ice skating rink, has seen it happen. But yeah, definitely not bad. I feel like they can be way worse. Have people doing absolutely incredibly random and impossible tasks is a big thing that I see happen with figure skating content. But I might end up reading more of this on a TikTok live and then talking about the figure skating / hockey aspect of that. I just thought it was funny that this is what came up when I was researching something else about figure skates and hockey skates. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you learned something. Feel free to go write some more fanfics involving figure skating and hockey. But I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you all next time.